Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to talk about installing your Docker component. Now, installation of Docker component requires some setup. First thing is that you need to make sure that your YAM has the capability of installing Docker component, as in like it can add a repository without you manually adding the repository. So for that, you need something called yum-config manager. So if you don't have yum-config manager, you don't have to worry about it. You can use sudo yum-y install yum-util. Now, the utils for yum is going to be installed as part of this particular command. So which means that it is going to install yum-config manager. So it says that yum-utils is already installed. That's good enough. So that's a thumbs up for me. If in case that it's not installed for you, then obviously you are going to get issues while accessing you're installing your repositories through yum-config manager. Now that the first step is completed, so let's just go ahead and let yum know about where you should be downloading your repositories. Now remember that you can download these repositories by yourself. You don't really need to do yum. Yum is going to help you to download faster. So what we want to do is like we have to execute this command in terms of adding a repository to yum, so that yum can scan this location as well, because by default what yum does is like it will go to your etc yum.repos.d. So this is where it checks all your repositories. So as of now, it has only 2 repositories by default, which is basically your mirror.centos.org, which is the default CentOS repository, wherein which it has all the CentOS related components, firstly. And then in terms of add-ons for your CentOS, like basically extra services which the CentOS requires. But then Docker is not a kind of add-on or a CentOS related stuff. Likewise, Docker, you have Cryo container, you have Podman, you have Kubernetes, right? So these are some of those technologies which we are going to work with. So these are some of the utilities which yum is not aware of in terms of downloading and installing it. Yum is not just useful for that, but yum also is useful for installing your RPMs. So if you rather than adding this particular command or using this particular command, you're going to add a repository to yum, right? So instead of doing that, you can actually access this particular URL and download. Instead of going to the repository, you can actually download the Docker by yourself. So I will show you that as well. Here, the same URL which I've used over here. So this is basically the same URL which is still here. I've copy pasted on my browser. And in my browser, when I open this URL, you can see those versions of CentOS. But if you're not using CentOS, you have other operating system where you can download your Docker directly. Now, this will have 2 options for you. When you choose the particular version of the CentOS, you will be able to see that you have multiple options over here, because these are your different run levels of your operating system. So I'm using x86 64. So here there is 3 options over here: nightly, stable, and test version. So nightly is a release, test is a release, and stable version is a release. So we're going to go with stable. In terms of if you are going to use the repository, so you have not given all this path in your yum, because yum goes inside and search via your current version, or what is the architecture which you're using, and then it will choose the stable version. So these are automatically done by yum, so you don't really have to manually do it. But if you are looking for downloading these packages manually, this is what you need to do. You need to go to packages over here if you're downloading packages, and what yum looks for is this repository repo md.xml. So this is where all your configurations which is going to do. So what it is going to do is, like by default, it is going to choose the latest version of RPM. So this is something which you don't have to tell yum. This is the normal functionality of yum. So for all these software, there are so many softwares here for Docker. The Docker is combined with multiple softwares. And these softwares are basically RPMs. RPMs is your Red Hat package manager. As you know, CentOS, Red Hat, Fedora all use the same architecture. So you can use RPM for those things. Now, so what is the indication that it is for Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS 9 is this one. It says EL9, so which means that it is Enterprise Linux line, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And then you have x86-64, and the same EL9 can be used on your CentOS as well because it is on the same architecture. Now, why we have so many of the same name is because these are the version information. So this one is considered to be the latest version. So it is 1.6.10-31. This is 1.6.9. So this basically is the build on top of that. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. So this is like 1.0.26, which is the latest version. So likewise, you have to look for the latest version while downloading it. Now, as this is as much confusing for you as I am, so, well, basically, if you see which is the latest version here, it is 1.6.9. So it built from 1.6.1 to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you are confused about which is the latest version, it is best for your M to decide. But if you're sure about which is the latest version over here and you're able to identify that, you can basically look at that. One more way of identifying the latest version is by the date it is built upon. So you can see that it is all on the same date, but the time has changed a little bit over here. Okay, so this is the 12th over here. So this is basically is the latest date which is coming up over here because this is built on the 12th month. And this is on the 9th and this is on the 11th. So you can see that this is the latest version. So this is basically how you can identify the latest version of packages. So likewise, you can check the build numbers and which version it is belonging to. For example, here you have taken the build version number of 25 over here, 6.25, and 6.26 is the latest one. So you can look for similar package numbers over here. So this in this particular situation for this particular package, we can also see that it's built on the same date. There is no difference in the dates over here, but then you can actually identify that with 10, 11 with the version inside version of .2. So we can pretty much clearly see this is the latest version. Here may be a little bit confusing because of the subversion of things, but then this date gives us a clear indication which is the latest version. Apart from that, you have so many other packages with different names. Let's just first understand the package names. So firstly, we will go with the important one, which is very much required for you, which is Docker CE. Docker CE is basically your community edition, which is a free version of Docker. It includes a Docker container runtime, which allows you to create, run, manage container. The CE is suitable for individual developers and small teams who wants to use Docker for containerization without the need of enterprise feature or support. So when you download the enterprise feature, that will be from a different website. That will not be part of open source, where you will be paying for the enterprise support from Docker. That's another tool which we will download. That will be just the Docker rather than Docker CE. In terms of CE command line, so that's the next big thing, because this is where you will get all those commands which you will execute in the command line interface as a client. So we have already seen the architecture where we know that Docker pull, Docker build, Docker run. So this is all part of a command line tool. So this basically has those tools, it gets installed. And then the next important thing is container.io. So containerd.io is essential component for Docker platform because it's an industry standard container runtime that manages the low level and high. In this scenario, it manages the high level when you compare with the run C. So it basically controls the operations. Like I have shown you on the architecture diagram, it both is OCI as well as a CRI. It is both container runtime interface as well as open container initiative. So it can connect with the open container images and download them. and use the run seed to run those images across to create containers. So basically that's the container D, which is another component which we are going to download. And then the next one is the buildx plugin over here. So this is an extended version of your Docker platform where this command will be useful if you want to build a container that can run in different processor architecture and operating systems. So by default, when you build any of the images, it was suitable for building on that particular wherever you're building. So that process architecture and operating system is what it will support. But then the buildx plugin will enable you to build images which can run across any process architecture and any operating system. So that gives you the real flexibility of using Docker containers across any platforms. Then the Docker rootless extra is going to help you set up Docker with the rootless setup, because when you're installing Docker, you can actually make it run without any root user. There's alternative way of making it by changing the folder permission to non-root user so that the non-root user can also work with it. So that's another thing. In terms of Docker plugin, Docker Compose plugin. So this is another plugin where it is the Docker Compose tool is used while defining the running multi-container environment applications. It allows defining complex application stakes in terms of declarative YAML file. One of the important use of Docker Compose, which we are not talking at this moment, is that it uses YAML file structure. By default, Docker uses Docker file structure, which you will understand later point of this training, which is a little complex when you compare with YAML. YAML file is much more understandable and readable, and it is very much a declarative language, which declares every set of instructions. So you can only use YAML file structure in case of Docker Compose, and we are not installing Docker Compose in this video. We will be installing only the plugin, as in the Docker Compose plugin might refer to Docker plugin and extend the support for Docker Compose, but potentially you need to have Docker Compose installed for it. So I will also put a session about how to install Docker Compose and how to use Docker Compose going forward with this training. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you in terms of downloading these packages. So click on the latest version and download those packages accordingly. And once you have downloaded the packages accordingly, you will be able to browse the installed application. So according to my experience, this is the latest version because it is 1.6.9. Let's just see by downloading Docker and see which version it actually downloads. So Yum can download the Docker container, so we will do that on this video. So here I'm going to add as this repository. So after adding this particular, sorry about that. So after adding this, you will see in the mrepo.de folder, you will see that, sorry about the background noise. So if you can see this over here, this new file has been created in which you have all the Docker related contents for you to download, for Yum to download, or probably Yum understands these and it will download those Dockers. Just bear with me for a second. Let me close the window. All right, I'm just back. So now what we're going to do is we are going to install Docker right now as we have completed the repository installation. Now it knows, Yum knows about the Docker installation or where to download Docker. So if you're going to say that install Docker, it's going to understand where it will also scan this particular repository folder to understand where Docker is. So let's go to your home folder. It doesn't matter where you are or what's your current location is. So all you have to do is you have to run the installation command. Now, before we run the installation command, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one more step. I'm going to tell you how to install your Docker directly rather than doing my step. So it's an option. If you want to do my step, you can do so. So if you just go to OPT software. I've created a folder called software here and then Docker folder over here. So what I'm going to do is like if I do a PWD, you can also create a folder and run it as I'm running it right now. So I'm installing this particular software called, what are the softwares I'm installing? I'm downloading Docker CLI, container DIO, and then Docker build plugin, and then you can see Docker Compose plugin. So these are some of the things I'm downloading, and I'm not installing it, I'm downloading it. So remember that there's a difference between installing and downloading. So downloading enables you to download the Docker version of all these softwares. It will be downloading to this location. It wouldn't install it. Now remember, you can run instead of all these commands, right? You can run just Docker yum-y install with all these components. So I will be giving you on the note section with this command. You can run this command directly, or you can use this command to download and verify, and then you can run the next command to install it. So I'm just putting that up over here for you to install this particular Docker directly. So I'm putting it on your notes section so that you can directly install. But this option is also there over there. I will give you this option as well, so that also you can use to download it. It's asking me, should I download it? I'm saying yes. So as you can see that the Docker it's downloading 24.07. It neither downloaded any of those things which we discussed earlier. So we were seeing, okay, so container D, right? So the container D is 1.6.26. So this is the latest version. So according to what Docker is saying, 1.6.26, this one which is built over here is the latest version. In terms of Docker Docker CE took 24.07, which we can see 24.07 is the latest version. So sometimes it is not the version which is in the bottom, which is the latest version like it is over here. So remember to download it by having a look or reading about the timelines as well, because that also really helps you to understand the when this particular file was created. So in those situation, you understood how it downloads and which version it downloads. So that is also pretty clear. I was wrong about the version which I thought was the latest version, but it actually downloaded the correct latest version. So going about this to uninstall Docker, very simple. I will tell you first how to install Docker. So now that it says download has been completed, if you do LSF and LTR, you can see that these are the RPMs which it has downloaded. Now remember, the Docker removes these RPMs once it is installed. So you can take a backup, or you can zip these these RPMs into one folder called tar-cvf, and you can just come down, and then you can just do a tar-cvf of Docker to Docker installation files. .tar. So I think I have to give it the other way around. So we Docker. So now you can see that the tar file has been created. So now this tar file is going to be there in case if you don't want to download it again, you can untar the tar file and you can use that output of your zip files. I mean your RPM files. So now to install these RPM files, you can just give an option over here, sudo yum-y install star. So what it's going to read what are those items which is required, which is part of this particular location, because I've given star, which means everything in that, and it automatically goes and gets that installed as I've given the option Y. So it's going to install all these components. Now when you do LSF and LTR, you can see that it's all gone, but we have already zipped that particular file, and there you can see that we have this 95 MB of a Docker installation files. So all you have to do is like tar-xvf if you want to restore this tar file, And inside the Docker file, you will have our RPMs for you to uninstall or install. To uninstall to uninstall your Docker, all you have to do is use this command to uninstall. So this command is basically the same yum command, but we are using -y here. We are using remove here rather than install. Okay, so here also you can give -y and then hit the enter button. You can see that the Docker has been erased from your system, and it has freed about 369 MB of disk space. So now you can go back to the Docker and do the installation one more time with the docker -y install *. So this should get your package installed again. So in this video, we have seen how to install Docker, how to download Docker using manually and using this one. So to download Docker, very simple. Just click on the version and it will automatically get downloaded in your download folder. So these are basically your readable or options is enabled for your HTTP web page. That's why you're able to see all these contents of this particular file, particular location. So thanks again for watching this video. You have seen an installation as well as part of this video. I hope that it was helpful for you to install. And if you have any questions or if you get any errors, you can always post your question on the question section. I'll be able to answer to you with all the information I have towards this. Thanks again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.